Have you ever tried finding that one TV show that doesn't have those like cringy, sappy moments, or like it isn't another copy of another TV series, or like follows like the current trends of like reincarnation and like gods reincarnating into humans and then like having this love story and everything? It's just very cliched and overused. Well, I just found a really good TV show that I think you should be watching. Hello, welcome back. My name is Tai, and today I'll be giving you my review on 少年歌行, or The Blood of Youth. So I recently got into this series. I believe I actually happened to stumble it across my YouTube feed, and then I was like, this is probably just like another one of those really sappy dramas with like, you know, the main character, he gets like super overpowered, and then he gets overthrown or something like that, and then he like finds true love and everything. And then I heard a couple of my friends talking about it, and they're like, oh, this is really good. And then I was like, oh, wait a second, I think actually one of my friends recommended it to me. So then I was like, you know what, I should just give it a try. And I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for like such a long time, because nowadays there's just very little good dramas that are like worthwhile to watch, except for this one. Blood of Youth is actually really good. Here's a couple of reasons why. Okay, so first is the storyline. The storyline does not follow, or at least to me, it doesn't follow one of those overused storylines, like, you know, reincarnation, or like two countries fighting against each other and then like the princes of those two kingdoms are like best friends or whatever. It's none of that. This one is literally a wuxia drama. If you watch my other videos, the one where I talk about wuxia and Xinze, you probably know that wuxia is split into two words. This is a whole category or genre of like fictional work. So wu means martial arts, and xia means hero, or like heroism, or like anything related to heroes. And so wuxia drama, this is a wuxia drama, one that I have been like looking for ages. This series has it all. It has enough to like satisfy your wuxia dreams. There's fighting in it, and there's act of heroisms in it. At first, it might seem a bit cliche if you like read like a synopsis of the series. It's a bit cliche. That's what I was thinking when I first read it. It was like, oh, there's like a golden coffin, and like apparently whoever finds the golden coffin and uncovers its like secrets, or like whatever's inside of the gold coffin, you will be like invincible, or like you'll have a lot of money. And that's what a lot of other wuxia dramas are about, like just fighting for that one treasure. But this one is actually different. It's actually very different, because that gold coffin is only like the surface level of what is actually going on. This is like the golden coffin, and this is like the rest of like of the storyline. The first couple of episodes are centered around these three characters. One of them is Xinze, a mysterious innkeeper who he literally knows like everything. He has knowledge of all sorts of like martial arts, different classes of martial arts, and like people, and like swordmaster stories, and like all sorts of stuff. He knows it. But however, you would expect him to know some sort of martial arts, but he doesn't. He doesn't know martial arts. And then the second person is Liu Xueyi, this like really young person, and he's just trying to experience jianghu for himself. Basically, jianghu is just like a word for like the martial arts world. He just wants to go adventuring. He just wants to travel. He just wants to like face opponents and like just fight. You know, blood of youth, obviously. It's just like to get excited and stuff. And then the third character is a monk. He's not really a monk, but maybe calling him a disciple of a monk might be more accurate. But he's a disciple of a monk. And the first couple episodes basically centers around these three. And after those first couple episodes, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, what is gonna happen next? Because that's what I was like. When I finished watching those first couple episodes that came out on YouTube, if you haven't watched it, go check it out, definitely, or go check it out after watching this episode. After I finished watching it, I was like, so many questions in my head that I wanted answers for. I was like, whoa, I did not see this coming after like the golden coffin. I was like, whoa, okay, what is happening? What is happening here? What is happening? And that made me want to like finish the rest of the series. Which the series haven't even ended yet, but I'm like halfway there, I guess. I'm like on episode 14 or 16. A bit more than what is posted on YouTube. But oh man, some episodes are like, whoa, they leave you on a cliffhanger and you're just like begging for more. That's what I felt. When I finished like a certain episode, I was like, he did not just do that. And then like, I'm like dying to watch the next episode. But this is just how good this drama is compared to like other series out there. But after the golden coffin, you probably wouldn't even see this coming, but I for sure didn't, because after the golden coffin, to sum up the rest of the plot, it's just the fight for power. Like the different, spoiler alert, in case you don't want to hear this, skip to like a minute forward. But basically, to sum up the plot, or to sum up the main plot of the story, it's actually just like fighting over power, really. It's just like the different princes of the kingdom fight for power when there's obviously one choice that is better than the rest of them. And he's not really fighting for power. He's just mainly doing something that he believes is right. And this kind of gets introduced in like the first episode, but it kind of leaves you a bit confused because it is like the first episode and they suddenly drop it on you and without any like backstory or anything, and you're just like, okay, so just like keep that in mind. But that is actually the main plot. Oh, and that actually does also remind me, there is a animated version of this series. It's also by the same name, 少年歌行. I'm pretty sure the English translation has a different name, but I'll have to look that up. Anyways, the animated version versus the real life version, I kind of prefer the real life version. Mainly because the real life version, I like the chronological order that they like put things in. Like you understand what's going on, but then at the same time it leaves you questions that will be answered in like the next couple episodes, and then you just get more questions and then it gets answered in the next couple more episodes. I like that rather than like the animated version where it does give you a lot more info, but it doesn't really follow like a specific order, so it's kind of like a mess. That's my impression of the animated version versus the live action. So I would probably watch the live action first and then go to the animated version where it kind of fills in some of like the questions that you have, and then you're like, oh, so that's what you meant. Or like, oh, okay, so that's what happened and that connects to this. That's what I did and it made perfect sense to me. Apart from like the stories, there are pretty neat characters. There's, like I said, there was Xinze, the innkeeper, who apparently happens to be like everyone's favorite just because he's like a Mr. Know-it-all and he acts like all cool about it. He's like very chill. He's like chill to the point where he's like emotionless. I don't know why, but everyone just seems to like him. I guess because he's like so laid back and like kind of lazy all the time, but yet he's like a Mr. Know-it-all. And then there's Liu Xueyi, who's like this really spirited young man who's just like kind of dumb. He's very pure, so he's kind of dumb. He doesn't really know how to talk, but he's definitely the type of guy that you would want to be friends with because he's just so friendly and like very pure. And then there's like Wuxia, which is the disciple of the monk. He's also a very interesting character. He's also very laid back, but he's a lot more initiative compared to Xiaose. Xiaose is just completely lazy, while Wuxin is like chill, but he also takes initiatives. And there are like some very funny scenes between like these three people, but they're like the best bros. They're like best friends. And then there are also other characters that come in later on. They're all really cool characters. They're all actually pretty memorable as well because many of them have like distinctive characteristics. Like right now, I can't really remember their names, but I remember their characters and like their personality because that's like what's prominent about certain characters, right? It's their personality, not really like their names. Their names are like whatever, but like it's their personality that really stands out the most. Like I know there was like I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he is like this very kind of like very steady guy, very stable guy, but he's also kind of like this super shy guy on the inside because he's like in love with like this other girl, but then like every time the girl comes near him, he's just like super shy about it, and it's just very memorable. That's like one thing I remember about him. And also besides like his personality, it's also the different ways that the characters fight as well. Like Xiaose, he doesn't have martial arts. He can't use martial arts. So there's that. But however, he can like run away pretty quick. Like he's pretty good with like running away. And then there's Liu Xueyi. He just charges into battle, alright? He doesn't really think twice about like scheming other people or like how to like win the battle in a smart way. He just charges in and goes like boom, boom, boom. He doesn't really think it through. While like Wuxin is also pretty neat. His fighting style as well. The fighting scenes are actually really good. Well, they're not that good, but they're pretty good because of like the CGI. The CGI is another thing. The CGI in this series is actually really good. It's really pretty as well. Like you wouldn't expect that from like a fight scene, but in this series, be prepared because there are some fight scenes that are like, whoa. Like you would not expect it. It's like, it's way too classy and fancy to be in a battle. Like battle is mostly about like, you die or I die. But then in this battle, it's like, are you more pretty or I'm more pretty? It's kind of like that. But the CGI is actually pretty good. And like I mentioned before, this will fulfill your like wuxia dreams. Or like your dreams of like finally a series that isn't just all about like, oh no, the guy doesn't love me, I'm gonna kill myself. That's so, it happens like every romance fantasy series, or like almost every romance series. There's always that one scene in Chinese dramas where one of the characters is like, I see my significant other, I don't know, chatting or hanging around another girl or guy. Oh no, I feel so jealous. I'm gonna start ignoring the guy from now on. It's like this plot that is kind of overused. Like, it's overused to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, why can't you just talk to the guy? This is so stupid. Like, but then for The Blood of Youth, there isn't really like a prominent romance element in it. But there is a tiny bit of romance, but it's not so much that it makes you like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to watch that. It's not like that much. It's enough to keep like the characters together, like the story plot going. but it's not off the top where it's like, oh gosh, what did I just watch? And another thing that I find about this series, which I really like, is the whole moral of the story, or like basically the whole story is centered around this like one word called yi. And I guess I can only translate this word at the moment to be righteousness. Basically the whole plot centers around this single moral, because it is like the driving force of the main character Xinze. He's standing for what he believes is right, and that is kind of what wuxia is mainly about. It's not about fighting. Fighting is like secondary in wuxia. Well, actually, maybe it's one of like the top reasons, but then again, martial artists people, they talk about wu de. It's like the virtue behind martial arts. So then again, the moral of the story, which is yi, or righteousness, is the core center of this series. And I really like that, because in other series, I guess, especially like fantasy series, or like romance fantasy series, they just center around like, I don't want you to die, so I'll die for you. It's kind of centered around that. Which then again, self-sacrifice, or like sacrificing yourself for your loved one, it's not a bad moral, but it's just very niche, I guess. It's very tiny compared to what yi is. Yi is a lot broader and a lot grander, I would say, because yi incorporates a lot of things, like fighting for what you believe is right, fighting for righteousness, and being steady in your faith. And then there is also the choice of like protecting your friends. That is also a part of yi. So yi is really big virtue, especially in traditional China. Yi is like, wow. Yi is, you have to have it. It's like, if you don't have this sense of like righteousness, you're probably like the black sheep of society. This is like back in traditional China. There was a period in ancient China called like the Three Kingdoms, or Sanguo. That time was pretty much all about yi. It was all about like, if my brother believes... Alright, first of all, people can become sworn brothers if like, you know, they trust each other and they believe what they stand for is right. They will bond together as sworn brothers. And so they will support each other with their decision. They're like, I trust my brother, so whatever decision he makes, I will stand with him because I believe he is right, and we stand for what we believe is right. So there's that part. And then there's also part where like, oh, I don't want the common people to suffer, so I have to like bring down the enemy and bring peace to the world again. So like this sense of like righteousness happened during the Three Kingdoms, and it's also the element that is missing a lot in modern day fictional works. Well, I'm just talking about like Chinese drama wise, but like Chinese drama nowadays is just like cringe, sappiness, and good for nothing scenes. I'm not gonna lie, that's how I'm gonna put it. Blood of Youth is different from all that. It might be a bit subtle, but after a couple more episodes into the series, like around like episode 9, I guess, 9, 10-ish, you're gonna see it and you're gonna be like, wow, this is what I should be like. You know, standing up for what you believe is right, that is yi. Or, you know, supporting your friends, that is also part of yi. So the moral aspect of this series, I think, is actually really good as well. So which is why this series really caught my eye, and which is why I'm making this whole video just complimenting it. Alright, now that's pretty much for the compliments. Now I'm gonna get to like the bad parts that I don't like. The bad parts, all I can say really is the acting, because there are certain characters in there that, or certain actors in there that kind of needs to hone their skills a bit more. Because I know, for one thing, Chinese dramas, they don't really care a lot about the acting as much. They mostly care about the looks. It's kind of superficial, but that's a lot of Chinese series nowadays. It's very superficial, mostly about the looks of the actors rather than their acting skills. But there are a couple actors that I just need to point out because their acting, I just can't live through it. There is one character, I forgot his name, but I remember his look. I'll probably post it like on right here. But he just, oh gosh. I saw him like twice. I'm just like, yeah, I can tell you're trying, but you're not trying in the right way. It's like you're trying a bit overboard. In Chinese, we kind of have a word for it. It's called 做作. It's like you're doing it to do it kind of feeling. It's like I can tell that he's trying to portray his character, but he just does it a bit overboard. Alright, maybe you won't understand that, but here, I'll explain it in a bit simpler terms. Basically, there's a difference between theater acting and movie acting. Theater acting, you have to move like your entire body to portray an emotion. But like movie acting, you have to act natural. It's all about natural. You have to be natural about it. Like you don't see anyone in real life like actually, if they're angry, they don't actually go like that, right? I mean, the most they'll do is like point at you, yell at you, or like, you know, glare at you, right? You don't actually see them like move their hands and like feet into like this anger pose, right? You never see that. Basically, that's what's wrong with this one or a couple actors. They just exaggerated too much. Like they're trying too much, so it has like an opposite effect. But that, honestly, is so far the bad thing. That's like the only bad thing I've seen so far is the acting. But apart from that, the storyline, the characters, the CGI, the fight scenes, the moral of this story, I love it. So good. I'm gonna keep on continuing it, and maybe I'll make a final review video on it as well. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. Or if you like watch the animated series and you're thinking about should you watch the live action, definitely give the live action a try, because I've actually seen both, so I kind of know what's good about either one. But I prefer the live action one. I don't know, I just feel more emotion seeing like real life people act it out compared to like lifeless animation. Alright, animation can be full of life as well, but I just prefer the live action. So that is all for today's video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up or leave a comment down below telling me what should I do next. And if you haven't checked out Blood of Youth, 少年歌行, definitely give it a try. It might start a bit slow at first, might be a little bit cliche at first, but after those first like 3 episodes, you're gonna be like, okay, I love this so much, I'm gonna continue it. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. 我们下次再见，拜拜。